this issue of the homosexual cake, the homosexual couple, rather, who ordered a wedding cake from a Christian baker. And I believe they knew that this guy was probably going to say no. And I'm thinking a whole lot of stuff here. And I could probably talk about this for an hour. But just off the top of my head here, I was sending email back and forth with Deborah J.M. Smith. And she said something that is something that I've been considering for quite some time. And when I see it in print from someone else, it all of a sudden it comes back even more profoundly than when I said it when I was talking about this on Facebook. She said, over time, it's only going to get worse. And of course that's true, because the homosexual activists are never satisfied. If it's one thing, then it's got to be something else. For instance, homosexual marriage is not enough. Once they have legalized, in this case in Colorado, legalized homosexual marriage, that's still not the end of it. The next step, which they're engaging now, is to force businesses to provide services for homosexual weddings. And so now you have this court decision, a ruling by a judge that is ordering, unbelievable, is ordering the baker to provide service to make a cake for this homosexual wedding. And at this point, I think the issue is much bigger than homosexual marriage. You have a judge ordering someone to do business with someone else. It is absolutely unconstitutional. And I think at some point, we need to stand up and say no. This ruling by this judge, I'm not even talking about appealing, which is something that probably needs to be done. But if the ruling is unconstitutional, then I'm sorry, but I'm not going to make a cake for this homosexual couple. And the judge has said that there are going to be fines. Okay, fine. Fine me. Punish me. Throw me in jail. But I am not going to be forced into doing business with anyone for any reason. And I also think that it may very well be time. This is how I put it in an email to Deborah J.M. Smith. You know how Christians put the little fish insignia in their ads, or some kind of testimony about their faith in their shop ads or their window? I do not think that it is selling out the faith to stop doing that. We don't need to essentially be putting a target on our backs. A man can be a good Christian and have a bakery and not let people know up front that it is a Christian business. That's not the general public's business. It might be time to pull away from putting the fish in the ad. And I think that way, the homosexual couple who wants to make an example of a Christian businessman won't be able to find them quite so easily. Because I do believe this was done on purpose because this man was a Christian business. I also believe if the homosexual couple had gone in there and the baker's name was Joe Smith, and they walk in the door and say, "Hi, Mr. Smith, we're getting married, me and my homosexual lover, and we would like you to make us a cake." And Baker Smith said, "Okay, what kind of cake you want?" and was perfectly willing to make a cake for them. They would have said no thank you and gone on to find a Christian baker who would say no. They didn't care about getting a cake. They cared about making a scene. But Deborah J.M. Smith had an even better idea. And I think this is great. What the Christian baker should do is say yes. Tell him, "Sure, I'll make you a cake." Perhaps it is time to put one man, one woman on the sides of all their trucks, in the window, on their uniforms, and even somewhere on the product's box and the paper, the doily that the cake sits on. Just all over the place. And then when someone asks for a cake to be made for a homosexual wedding, say, sure thing. Great way to tell the truth. And since they do it for everyone, the homos cannot take them to court for it. You know, this is the kind of thinking that Christian businesses must start moving toward. Because the homosexuals are going to try to make an example of all these people. And this kind of order from a judge, which is completely unconstitutional, would apply to the wedding planner, the wedding photographer, the wedding cake baker, the florist, any of these kinds of businesses that work with people who are getting married. The answer in the long run is not going to be saying no and then spending tens of thousands of dollars, if not more, defending yourself in court, but making it impossible or distasteful for homosexuals to do business with you. You have to make your business just straight enough so that the homosexual goes somewhere else. And if they do come to your business and they say, hey, I want you to be the photographer at my wedding, you show up with a jacket that has stitching on the back that says, one man, one woman photography.
The Jimmy Z Show.